This is Unit 2B Test Review Part 1. I have to split up the review in parts because YouTube will not let me upload anything longer than 20 minutes. Fingers crossed, first part is a lot less than 20 minutes. I'm going to preface this with, please forgive me, I am not used to writing on my new computer, and so we're gonna practice while we learn, or learn while we practice. Let's get started. So number 1 is very similar to number 1 on the test, and we need to solve for D. So I'm going to circle D. Actually, let me rewrite the equation, and I'm solving for D, which means I need to get rid of a divided T. Well, a divided T moves with a multiplied T. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. And D equals T times V, or because multiplication is commutative, D equals VT. So I'm looking for both of those, or either of those, and it looks like B is my answer here. Right. So let's take number 2, volume equals length times width times height. And I'm solving for W. In order to solve for W, I need to get rid of a multiplied L and a multiplied H. So the inverse operation of multiplication is dividing by L. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. I have to get rid of a multiplied H by dividing by H, and it looks like W equals V divided by LH, which in this case is A. So that's similar to number 2 on the test. Let's look at number 3 and 4. Number 3, I'm going to rewrite my equation. And V sub F stands for velocity, the final velocity of an object, and V sub I stands for the initial velocity of the object. And here I am solving for V sub F. So the first thing I need to move is that denominator of a T. We move a divided T by multiplying by T. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. I'm going to write the V sub F minus V sub I on the left because I want the variable I'm solving for eventually on the left. And then T times A can be written typically, we write them in alphabetical order. So I'm going to write it as AT, but multiplication is commutative, so I don't necessarily have to put it in that order. So to solve for V sub F, I need to get rid of a minus V sub I. A minus moves with a plus. So I'm going to add V sub I to both sides. So it looks like V sub F equals A times T plus V sub I. And that will be C. Number 4, distance equals rate times time, so D equals RT. And this has us solving for R, so the only thing that needs to move is a multiplied T. We move a multiplied something by dividing by that something. Whatever I do to one side, I do the other. I'm going to put R on the left because that's where I like the variables I solve for to go. And R equals distance divided by time, which in this particular problem is D. 5 and 6 continue to be literal equations. Let's write down 5. This is actually the circumference equals 2 pi times the radius. And we want to solve for pi. To solve for pi, I need to move a multiplied 2 and a multiplied r. So we get rid of multiplied things by dividing by those things. So I'm going to divide the right by 2r. I'm going to divide the left by 2r. I'm going to get that pi equals c divided by 2r. Let me erase that. Divided by 2r. So for this particular problem, it looks like C is my answer. Number 6 is the interest equals principal times rate times time. And it requests that I solve for r, which means I need to get rid of a multiplied p and a multiplied t. The inverse of multiplication is division. So I'm going to multiply the right by pt, multiply the left by pt, and it looks like r equals I divided by pt. And that would be C in this case. Number 7 on the review is similar to number 7 on the test. And it's I equals V divided by R. And we want to solve for V. So I need to move a divided R. We move divided things by multiplying by that thing. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. I'm going to write V on the left because that's where I like my variables I'm solving for. And the right can be either Ri or it can be I times R. Multiplication is commutative. Typically it goes in alphabetical order, and it looks like that's how it's written in our answer, which is B. I am going to, for number 8, take the same equation, but now I'm going to solve for r. In order to solve for r, I have to get r out of that denominator. So to move denominators, denominators are connected by division. I am going to multiply. And again, I'm multiplying it to move it because I need it in the numerator's location in order to solve for it. So now I have r times I, which looks like Ri equals V. I am solving for r, which means I have to get rid of a multiplied I. A multiplied I moves by dividing by I. And r equals V divided by I, which happens to be C on the study guide. Let's now take a peek at number 9. Number 9 has us using velocity equals distance divided by time. And velocity equals the speed. So let's see what information we have. A cruise ship is leaving Miami and traveling to the Bahamas, which is 180 miles away. So 180 miles away would be distance. If the ship travels at an average speed of 25 miles per hour, so that tells me speed, which is velocity. How long? So I'm looking for time. So I'm going to plug in what I know to find what I don't know. So I know velocity, or the speed, it's 25 miles per hour. I know the distance. It told me that Miami and the Bahamas are 180 miles away from each other. What I don't know is the time. So I'm solving for time. Now, in order to solve for time, it's in the denominator. So I need to untrap it in the denominator, which means I'm going to move it with multiplication. So a divided t moves by multiplying by t. Let's move up here. My left is t times 25, which looks like 25t. My right, 180, is left on the right. Now to solve for t, I need to get rid of a multiplied 25. So I am going to divide by 25. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. I'm going to grab from a calculator, and I find the time is going to be 7.2 hours. Now on Mastery Manager, what we have to do when we fill in the grid-ins, we have to make sure, so I'm going to do it on here. On the SAT, it doesn't matter. 7.2. For Mastery Manager, it does matter. You have to put it in the front. You have to fill the front first. So I'm going to bubble in 7. I'm going to bubble in the decimal point. Then I'm going to bubble in the 2. So this had us using what we know, which is the velocity and the distance, to find what we don't know, the time. Number 10 is a tax problem. Okay, Walgreens is selling fidget spinners 2 for $3. We want to buy 4. And we know that there's an 8.75 tax. So, if 2 fidget spinners cost $3 and we want to buy a total of 4, we're buying a total of 4 for $6. Okay? So I put 2 in my grocery cart or my Walgreens cart, and that cost me $3. Then I'm going to put 2 more, and that cost me $3 more for $6. Now we need to figure out what tax is going to be added on. So on that $6 I'm spending for fidget spinners, the tax, I'm going to convert it to a decimal, which means I'm moving the decimal 2 places to the left and expressing it as 0.0. Excuse me, 0.0875, and I'm multiplying that by 6 because I want to find 8.75% of $6, okay, and that is connected with multiplication. So I'm going to use my calculator, and I'm going to have $6 for my fidget spinner plus 53 cents for my tax, which gives me a total of $6.53. I am going to put that in my grid-in, $6.53. Bubble in the 6, bubble in the period, and then the 50 and 3. So this took up all 4 of our spaces in the grid-in. So number 10 on the test is also going to be buying multiples of something, and you're going to have to figure out what the cost of your multiples is and then how much is added for tax to find your total amount. Number 11 is an interest, a simple interest problem. So I equals PRT, and let's see what we have. Your aunt set up a savings account for you when you were little. You want to use some money for the homecoming dance. The savings account started with $800. So the starting amount of a savings account is P, the principal. It earned $150 in interest, so we know P, we also know I, and then the last thing we know that it's been in there for 6 years, so we know T. And it looks like we're solving for R. So let's plug in what we know to find what we don't know. So I is 150. The principal, which was the original amount in the account, was $800. We're looking for R, and then the time is 6 years. I'm going to use my calculator if you need to and simplify the right, so make those two numbers 1 through multiplication, and 800 times 6 is 4,800. And I'm still looking for R. So I need to move a multiplied 4,800 by dividing by 4,800. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. and R is going to equal 0.03125. Need to remember to express this as a percent. I'm going to move the decimal spot 2 places to the right, and I'm going to get 3.125%. Looking at my answer options here, that is C. This concludes Unit 2B test review or study guide, numbers 1 through 11. If you need to check out numbers 12 through 21, you need to go find the link on JG Learn Calendar of the Part 2, Unit 2B Part 2 video. Thank you very much.